Give me 265 seconds. That's all I'm asking for. Not your whole life, not your comfort, just 265 seconds. Because if you stay with me for these next moments, something inside you is going to change. Not motivation, not hype, something far more dangerous. Discipline. Most people don't hate discipline. They hate what discipline exposes. It exposes how weak their routines are, how fragile their promises are, how lazy their standards have become. You don't lack potential. You lack control. And control is the only currency that matters. Let me be clear from the start. This is not a speech to make you feel good. This is not comfort. This is not inspiration you forget tomorrow. This is addiction. Because once discipline enters your system, you can't unsee the truth anymore. Right now, your life is being run by impulses. You wake up when you feel like it. You work when motivation shows up. You quit when discomfort appears. You call it balance. I call it self-betrayal. Every time you delay the work you know you must do, you teach your brain one thing: I cannot be trusted. And once your mind loses trust in you, it stops listening. That's why you overthink. That's why you procrastinate. That's why you feel mentally tired without doing anything meaningful. Your mind is not tired, it's disappointed. Discipline fixes that. Not softly, not gently, ruthlessly. Discipline is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters, even when your emotions disagree. And here's the part no one tells you. Discipline doesn't start when you feel ready. It starts when you decide that feelings are irrelevant. Most people wait to feel disciplined. That's why they never become it. Discipline is a command, not a suggestion. When you say I'll do it later, you are negotiating with weakness. And weakness always wins negotiations. Strong people don't negotiate. They execute. They don't ask, how do I feel today? They ask, what must be done? And then they do it. Calmly, silently, relentlessly. That's why disciplined people look different. They move differently. They speak less. They hesitate less. Because their mind is trained to obey. Think about this carefully. If you cannot control when you wake up, what you eat, what you focus on, what you consume, then what exactly do you think you control? Your opinions? Your dreams? No, you are being carried by the current, calling it a journey. Discipline is learning how to swim against it. And at first it feels painful. Your body resists. Your mind complains. Your emotions scream. That's normal. Addiction always fights back when you try to replace it. Yes, your laziness is an addiction. Your scrolling is an addiction. Your excuses are an addiction. Discipline is the withdrawal. And withdrawal hurts. But here's what happens if you don't quit. After a few days, something shifts. You stop arguing with yourself. You stop asking for permission. You stop needing motivation. You just move. That's when discipline becomes addictive. Because progress feels better than comfort ever did. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How many times have you promised yourself you'd change? How many fresh starts have you wasted? Every broken promise didn't just fail your goal. It damaged your identity. You stopped seeing yourself as someone who finishes. Discipline rebuilds that identity. One action at a time. One uncomfortable decision at a time. You don't need massive change. You need non-negotiables. Wake up time, non-negotiable. Training, non-negotiable. Study, non-negotiable. Sleep, non-negotiable. When something is non-negotiable, your brain stops debating. Debate is where energy is wasted. Discipline removes debate. And once debate is gone, execution becomes automatic. That's why disciplined people look calm under pressure. They already decided. Pressure doesn't scare them. Indecision does. Now listen closely. Discipline is not about punishment. It's about self-respect. Every time you do the hard thing instead of the easy thing, you tell yourself, I matter. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence compounds. Not loud confidence, not social confidence, quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't need validation. The kind that doesn't panic. The kind that survives alone. That's why disciplined people don't chase attention. They attract outcomes. They don't talk about goals. They talk through results. And here's the final truth most people aren't ready for. Discipline will isolate you. Not because you're better, but because you're different. While others sleep, you work. While others complain, you train. While others cope, you build. They'll call you obsessed, extreme, cold. Let them. They don't see the war you're fighting every morning. The war against the version of you that wants comfort. And you're winning. Slowly. Silently. That's addiction, not to pleasure, but to progress, not to noise, but to mastery. So here's the deal. For the next 265 seconds, decide. Decide that excuses no longer deserve your attention. Decide that discipline is your identity now. Decide that you are done betraying yourself. You don't need to feel ready. You need to act anyway. Because discipline doesn't change your life overnight. It changes you. And once you change, everything else follows. Stay empty. Stay focused. Stay disciplined. Because once discipline gets into your system, you'll never want to go back. You think discipline is about being strict. It's not. It's about being honest. Honest about how much time you waste. Honest about how weak your standards became. Honest about how often you chose comfort over growth. Most people lie to themselves every day and call it self-care. Discipline removes the lie. That's why it hurts. When you sit down to work instead of escaping, there's no distraction to hide behind. No noise. No excuse. Just you. And that silence exposes everything. Your impatience. Your lack of focus. Your fragile attention span. That's why people avoid discipline. Not because it's hard. Because it reveals the truth. But here's the twist no one warns you about. Once you stay in that discomfort long enough, you stop feeling exposed. You start feeling powerful. Because for the first time, you're not running. You're standing still while your mind tries to pull you back into weakness. And you refuse. That refusal builds dominance. Dominance over impulses. Dominance over emotions. Dominance over urges. And dominance is addictive. You wake up one day and realize, I don't need motivation anymore. You move even when you don't want to. You train even when it's boring. You work even when nobody is watching. That's when discipline stops being an effort and becomes who you are. Let me say this clearly. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is mechanical. Motivation rises and falls. Discipline stays. That's why motivated people start strong and quit early. Disciplined people start slow and finish everything. They don't rely on energy. They rely on systems. And systems don't care how you feel. You either show up or you don't. There's no drama, no excuses, no negotiation. That's why discipline creates peace. When you remove decision-making from your life, you remove stress. No more should I. No more maybe later. No more guilt. You already decided. And once that happens, your mind finally shuts up. That silence, that's clarity. That's why disciplined people think sharper, move faster, react calmer. They're not smarter. They're less distracted. Now understand this part carefully. Discipline doesn't demand perfection. It demands consistency. You don't need heroic days. You need boring days done right. Most people fail because they aim for intensity instead of reliability. They go hard for 3 days and disappear for 3 weeks. Discipline doesn't spike. It compounds. 5 minutes every day beats 5 hours once a month. Showing up tired beats waiting to feel ready. And once you experience that compounding effect, once you see progress stacking quietly in the background, you get hooked. Because effort finally produces results. That's the addiction. Not dopamine, not praise, Proof. Proof that you are no longer the person who quits. And here's the most dangerous part of discipline. It changes how you see others. Not in arrogance, in clarity. You notice who lives on excuses, who avoids responsibility, who runs from discomfort, and you realize you used to be like them. That realization hurts, but it also separates you, because you can't unlearn discipline. Once your standards rise, going back feels unbearable. Comfort starts to feel like decay. Wasted time feels insulting. Excuses sound embarrassing. That's growth. And growth is lonely, but loneliness is cheaper than regret. So if you're feeling resistance right now, good. That means this is working. Your old self is fighting back. Let it. You don't need to kill that version of you. You just need to stop listening to it. Discipline isn't loud. It doesn't hype you up. It whispers. Do it anyway. And if you obey that whisper long enough, it becomes a command, then a habit, then an identity. So don't wait. After this video ends, do one thing immediately. Not tomorrow. Not after a break. Now. Because discipline is built in moments like this, when no one is forcing you, and you choose to act anyway. That's where the addiction begins.